Given the current state of the world, like from a public health perspective, from an economic perspective, is it a good time to be starting a business? I'm gonna keep it really real with y'all and give you the Libra answer that applies to almost every question imaginable. It really depends. So what does it depend on? I feel like it depends on two major things. The first thing is, what is your business? What is this business idea that you have and that you are considering getting off the ground? The reason that that's important is because you have to think about what type of product you're offering or what type of service you're providing. And are people likely to exchange their money for that product or that service at this present time, like in this current state? If we're talking about a service, for example, let's consider if you are thinking about becoming a photographer, becoming like a freelance photographer. And then let's compare that to if we were thinking about becoming a copywriter. So a photographer, of course, is meeting people in person. Like, you are doing shoots of people. Your business relies on you and another person physically going to locations and you taking pictures of them. Yes, there's probably some distancing involved, but it requires you to be interactive with people. It's also not necessary in most cases. Like, having professional photography, whether it's for personal reasons or for professional reasons, business reasons, is not necessarily a person's need. So if someone is wanting to socially distance themselves from other people and is also wanting to hang on to money because they're not sure what's going to be happening as far as work and things like that in the near future, then starting a photography business might not necessarily be the best route right now, because the people who would normally be interested in that might not be as interested in receiving that service from you. So let's compare that to something like copywriting. Copywriting can be an online business. Like, in most cases, that does not require you to meet face-to-face in person with someone. Like, virtual calls, virtual conferences are perfectly fine for a copywriter and their clients. And copywriting is also something from a business perspective that is kind of important, because the words that you are using for your email campaigns or for your website, that is going to directly, if the copywriter is good, that is going to directly lead to sales and to conversions. So copywriting, while still not completely essential, is still important, and it can be done without having to meet face to face. So if I were considering starting a freelance photography situation versus a freelance copywriting situation, I would have different considerations in my mind because the nature of that business is different. Now, if we are talking about a product, if you are thinking about starting a business that's based around a product, there are other considerations you have to make. Is this a digital product or is it a physical product? If it's a physical product, who is making it and where is it being made? Because a lot of products that are made in China are having issues with supply right now because of, a lot of factories being closed or just starting to reopen, or a lot of workers being sick. So they're running into supply chain issues and manufacturing issues depending on where the product is made. Is the product a necessity? It goes back to that question that we were talking about with service-oriented businesses. Is a product a necessity? Because right now, people might be a little more reluctant to let go of their coins for a product that is not absolutely necessary for them. So let's take our audience again, for example. If the product that I was producing was a digital product and it was a learning app for preschoolers and pre-K aged children, that is going to be a hot commodity right now, because all these kids are at home with their parents who are trying to work at the same time they're trying to teach these kids stuff because they're not in school. And so if you have a digital tool right now that the kids can use on their own and still be learning, it might be a good time to introduce that or to, get that ball rolling. Whereas if you have created a product that is like, I don't know, some jewelry, like if you are a jewelry maker, maybe people are not as enthusiastic about purchasing jewelry right now because, one, they're on a budget, they're not sure what money is going to be looking like in the next few months, in the next several months. Two, where they going right now? Ain't nobody going nowhere. So they're not like purchasing jewelry for something specific to wear like anytime in the near future. So those are like some of the questions you can ask yourself to figure out whether this is something that is worth you putting your time, energy, and money into right now, whether it is a service business or a product-based business. So again, that first question is, what is your business? And think about what your business is and who you serve in that business to decide whether now might be a good or not so good time for you to start that. I believe that the second question you want to ask yourself to figure out if now is the right time is, what are your current circumstances? What are your current opportunities and your current limitations? This situation that the world has found itself in right now is unprecedented, and everyone is experiencing their own like mini crises, or at least it feels like everyone is experiencing their own mini crises. And because of that, you may have certain circumstances currently that would not normally apply to you in other situations. So for example, maybe you do not have access to as much money or income as you did before, either because you aren't receiving as much because of changes in your employment situation, or because you're having to save more in order to, make sure that you're prepared for whatever is to come in the future. Maybe you don't have as much time available to you right now because you have children and they are now at home, whereas before you could have been working on things while your children were at school. So your resources have likely changed in some way. So in thinking about whether this is a good time to start a business or not, you need to actually like sit down and realistically account for those resources, that money and that time that it is or is not available to you, and make a decision based on that consideration. It's been very frustrating to be on social media right now because there is one camp of people who are like, this is your time, you are quarantined, you don't have anything else to do, start your side hustle, start your business, make this money, blah, blah, blah. And I get personally annoyed by that because that is just such a broad, sweeping, assumption-based argument. Like, you are just assuming that people are on vacation and now have all of this time available. Like, they're just sitting around twiddling their thumbs on vacation. And if you are able to do that, then I am, I wish that I could be in those shoes. But a lot of people, a lot of millennials, like people our age, we have kids that are now at home. For me, I work from home. Like, I work in my own copywriting business and I work from home. Monday through Friday are usually the most productive days of the week for me because I can do what I need to do without distractions. Now, I feel like I have zero time in the day, and so I don't have all of this extra time available to me. I have severely reduced amounts of time available to me. So you got to be realistic about what that circumstance is for you. So that's the one camp of people who is like, oh my God, make use of this time to start making more money, whatever. Then there's the other camp of money. Then there's the other camp of people who are like, don't listen to all those people telling you that you need to be busy making money. You need to be using this time to rest and relax and center yourself and meditate and blah, blah, blah. And again, if that's for you, that's cool too. But let's not assume that this is not something that people are already doing, or that people cannot be centered and be rested and relaxed and still be working on the goals that they have set for themselves. I am not in either of those camps. I am in the camp of do whatever you need to do for yourself without the external pressures of other people. So if you feel like, one day you want to rest and relax and another day you want to work on something, then do that. Like, don't worry about all these other people out here pressuring you in one direction or the other. Take into consideration what your circumstances are, what your goals are, and figure out what you want to do or what you can do with your time based on that. That is nobody's business except your own. So once you have considered those two things, right? What your business is and who it's serving, and what are your current circumstances, opportunities, and limitations. Regardless of whether you are choosing to move forward in earnest with this business right now or not, what can you do right now to best prepare you for later? So if you decide, yes, I'm going to go ahead and start this business, cool, more power to you. If you decide, yes, I am going to start this business, but not right now, cool, good for you. But in either case, you should be thinking about what you can be doing right now to best prepare yourself for the future. So for example, that could be starting to think about what you want your brand to be, whether that's a personal brand or, a company specific brand. That's something you can start thinking about right now. You can start thinking about what kind of content you want to create to attract people to your brand. Because whatever type of business you are creating, whether it's product based, whether it's service based, you are going to benefit from content that can attract your ideal customers. You can start thinking about what kind of community you want to build around your business, because again, that's something that is important regardless of what type of product or service you are offering to people. You want to build a community around that. There are all types of things that you can be thinking about, brainstorming right now that don't require you to actually be like seeking money from someone. The biggest suggestion that I have in terms of using right now to prepare for later is learning, educating yourself, learning about all these different business basics and foundational principles so that you have laid the strongest groundwork for your business that you possibly can. And this is a great time to do that because again, it doesn't require any exchange of money from you to a prospective client or customer. All it requires is you to take time and use the resources that are available to you to learn about some of these things. So that is one of the reasons I have been really excited about this business basic series that is coming up on the LaziMILLENNIAL Lounge podcast, because it's going to be 7 to 8, I can't remember exactly how many, but 7 to 8 weeks of deep diving into foundational business topics. And this is stuff that everyone can learn from, no matter what type of business you are trying to start. If you are a brand new business owner, or if you are aspiring or new-ish business owner, these are all topics that are going to be 100% relevant to you. So I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. We're going to be going into setting up an LLC, whether that's something you need to consider doing, or maybe even whether like an S corporation or a C corporation or a nonprofit is more appropriate for you. We do a deep dive into what those legal business structures are, what they mean, what the pros and cons of each one are, and how you actually create them. That's one episode that's totally dedicated to that topic. Another episode is all about setting up your finances. So what types of software do you need to create accounts with so that you can easily keep track of your business income and expenses? What types of bank accounts should you be opening right now? There are going to be separate episodes about how to use storytelling and how to use copywriting to market your business. And when I say storytelling, I'm not talking about in the broad sense that like when people say, oh, storytelling is important. Oh, storytelling is really important. Tell a story. No, I'm talking about like step by step, how you build a solid marketable story and how you deliver that story for maximal impact, like with examples and practice and everything. Same thing with copywriting, like how you create a launch copy strategy to sell and promote your service or your product. There's going to be an episode all about taxes, like how you set up your quarterly taxes, how much money you need to be setting aside, how you make sure the IRS doesn't come knocking at your door. There's going to be an episode on setting business goals. And what I'm really excited about is having them all in one place on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, because when I was in the process of starting my business, I was like seeking information like a mug. Like I am an information finder. And so that was really important to me. And so I wanted to provide like one space where that information was going to be available to people who are new or early on in their business ownership process. And so that's what this Q2 Business Basics series is all about. The first episode is going to be dropping on next Tuesday. So I just highly encourage you to make sure you are either subscribed to the YouTube channel or subscribe to the LaziMILLENNIAL Lounge podcast so that you do not miss when those episodes drop. The podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts is there. You can just search Lazy Millennial, that's L-A-Z-I, and Millennial has 2 L's and 2 N's. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at Lazy Millennial Podcast because I make sure to update all my followers there when new episodes are available. But really, like, I know this is a tough time if you have had any thoughts about starting a business, because it's like, man, you done hyped yourself up, got this idea, you're like ready to jump in, and then it's like, how Cardi say, coronavirus. So yeah, like, you know, God has a sense of humor, but God will not forsake you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And so I believe that this is all a part of his plan, and that, you know, the plans that he has for us are going to align with this plan. And all we can do is, you know, pray for guidance and direction and make the best decisions we can with the knowledge that we have and with however the Spirit moves us to. So I wish you all the best in that. I can't wait to see y'all during the Business Basics series, and I will catch you next time. Ooh, yeah.